Hi. Why are there's so seldom any favorable references in the Watchtower publications about other faiths and about individuals, non-witness individuals, who face persecution, imprisonment, and even death with courage and stand by their conscience? Why are these people never referred to in Watchtower publications? I'm going to read to you about a gentleman that I never heard about when I was a witness, Martin Niemoller, who lived from 1892 to 1984. I'm reading from Victor Shepard's Great Cloud of Witnesses book. This is about Niemoller. Is Hitler a great man? Niemoller's frightened wife, Elsa, asked him. He is a great coward, her husband replied. Then Niemoller warned her that Hitler would certainly hound and brutalize him, for Niemoller had that day contradicted the Führer at a public meeting. That evening, the secret police raided and searched the Niemoller house. A few days later, a bomb exploded in their home, setting it on fire. Friends offered to smuggle him and his family to Sweden, a neutral country. He declined. Niemoller's dramatic confrontation with the most powerful and evil man in Europe had been foreshadowed years earlier in the claustrophobic confines of a submarine. He and his fellow officers of the World War I U-boat he captained were debating the horrors of warfare. Niemoller said he saw at this moment, January the 25th, 1918, that the world is not a morally tidy place. The world is not guided by moral principles. Neutrality in the world struggle is not possible. At the same time, those who uphold the right are scarcely without fault themselves. The submarine commander jotted down in his diary, "Whether we can survive all trials with a clear conscience depends wholly and solely on whether we believe in the forgiveness of sins." Soon this naval officer, who had wanted since childhood to be a seafarer, followed his father's footsteps into the Lutheran ministry. His first parish, in the heart of an urban slum, could not pay him enough to support his family. Carefully, his wife picked the gold lace off his uniform and sold it to a jeweler. His naval officer's pension, devalued many times over on account of the collapsing German economy, purchased only half a loaf of bread. Years later he wrote, "I discovered and still know what it feels like to have no fixed employment and means of existence and sustenance." Hitler soon took the nation by storm. He promised to rebuild the economy, restore the people's pride, overturn their national humiliation, and eliminate the rampant immorality in the larger cities. It is little wonder that people supported him. It is greater wonder that Niemoller did not. Niemoller soon discovered that Hitler was distorting the Christian faith in order to use it in the service of political power. Hitler ordered pastors to read a proclamation of thanksgiving to their congregations, a proclamation praising the government for assuming the load and burden of reorganizing the church. Niemoller refused. He realized that Hitler merely wanted to use the church politically, and thereafter leaving it to rot like a gangrenous limb. Soon, Hitler issued a decree that targeted pastors of Jewish ancestry. They were to be removed from their pulpits. Of the 18,000 Protestant pastors in pre-war Germany, only 23 were of Jewish descent. Yet the anti-Semitic hatred of the Nazi Party was so intense that even this small number could not be tolerated. The machinery of the state was mobilized to eliminate them. Because of his opposition to official policies, the government informed Niemoller in November of 1932 that he had been permanently retired. His congregation assumed a different but courageous position. They informed the government that their pastor would continue to shepherd them. 2 days later, at a rally in a sports stadium, a featured speaker shouted, "If we are ashamed to buy a necktie from a Jew, we should be absolutely ashamed to take the deeper elements of our religion from a Jew." Positive Christianity, as the state church called its propaganda, had clearly repudiated Jesus Christ. Harassment of pastors continued. Niemoller steamed, "It is dreadful and infuriating to see how a few unprincipled men who call themselves church government are destroying the church and persecuting the fellowship of Jesus." In July 1937, the secret police arrested Niemoller. Already he had been to prison 5 times, and on each of those occasions he had been released within a day or 2. He expected the same quick release this time. He was wrong. The next 8 years found him behind bars, the personal prisoner of Hitler himself. On his admission to the Berlin prison, he was approached by the prison chaplain, a man Niemoller recognized from his naval days and now knew as a Nazi stooge. "Pastor Niemoller," the chaplain said, "why are you in prison?" Niemoller stared back at him and asked, "Why are you not?" From Berlin, he was sent to Sachsenhausen, a concentration camp. He asked for and had returned to him 2 possessions dear to him, his Bible and his wedding ring. While he was in solitary confinement and not permitted to converse with anyone, the only sounds he heard were the outcries of men undergoing torture. At home, Elsa suffered a nervous breakdown. She and their 7 children were expelled from the manse and were left with neither income nor accommodation. Niemoller was transferred in 1941 from Sachsenhausen to Dachau. 4 years later, in April of 1945, he was taken to northern Italy for execution. 3 days later, American forces liberated the area and took Niemoller into their care. They found him in poor condition, exhausted, scrawny, and tubercular. In June of 1945, he was reunited with his wife. While struggling with his own personal trials, he had supported thousands more with his letters, coming back again and again to the word given to God's people through Joshua 1, verse 9. "Be strong and of good courage. Be not frightened, neither be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." After the war, Niemoller continued to work on behalf of the devastated people of Germany. International honors were accorded him. Yet, whenever asked how he wished to be introduced, he invariably replied, "I am a pastor." A few days before his death, he remarked, "When I was young, I felt I had to carry the gospel. Now that I am old, I know that the gospel carries me." So I would ask, why were so many of the people of Germany swayed by National Socialism? They were seduced by the propaganda that tried to blend religion and the national pride. And it worked on people. Niemoller recognized it as propaganda. The people, though, were being convinced that their nation was the only pure race. That is how propaganda works. Does it have a familiar ring to it? For me it does, as an ex-witness. I'm going to link "Don't be fooled. Nazism was religion opposed to Christianity. Do we face a similar deception?" That is a video that David did based on some writing by Dorothy Sayers. And a second video based on Ray Franz, his book on Christian freedom, "Whitewash Self, Point Others or Paint Others Black, the Hypocrisy of JWs Propaganda."